Hi everyone, and welcome to our live stream, our very first day in review for a Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. I don't think we've ever done a first day in review. We normally do a week in review. Uh, so so that's a first. My name is Elena. I'm joined today by designer Fabio Curi and producer Erwan Le Tourivelec. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I did. How are both of you today? Excited? We just launched yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome everyone. I'm super excited. I'm super happy by how quick the project was funded, and we've got a lot of stuff to show you guys in the next 14 days. But I guess I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. And how are you, Erwan? Are you?
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm super excited too, and really happy to see people commenting on the campaign and see the feedback. And I really can't wait to see the next days coming.
Yeah. It was an exciting first day, right? There was already a lot. Like, we launched with, if I'm not mistaken, 3 boxes right off the bat, counting the terrain.
Yeah.
That's a huge launch.
That's exact.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we start? I think people are still joining us, but perhaps we can start. Our very first review of the day is if you guys paid attention yesterday, you probably saw that we'll be unlocking daily stretch goals, normally around noon EST. So that's right about now, right? But before we move on to the reviews, everyone, can you tell us a little bit more about the stretch goals, because it's they're a little bit different from past campaigns.
We got many questions about the stretch goals in the commentaries. To clarify again about the stretch goals, we won't do any monetary stretch goals in this campaign, but we choose to offer you all along the campaign stretch goals to build another box, another full box with 2 factions inside, and this box will be accompanied by by a proper terrain set. So you will discover day by day what we reveal and what we build around this thematic. Well, you got it now. It's wildlings against defenders of the wall. So you guys will see soon. Nice
Someone
things.
clearly picked a side. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I'd say free folk against the crows, right? But
Yeah. I'm for the free folks, by the way, but you know.
Well, yesterday we started with a free folk model, right? So today, maybe yes, we'll get to that. But maybe you guys can introduce us to these 2 new gentlemen joining us.
So here we've got a veteran of the watch for Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniature game players. They'll recognize this unit already from the other game. But you get here one in a unique pose, which is really cool in the Battle Beneath the Wall box. And we also have here Jon Snow. If you can see on the top left of their cards, you can see obviously that the Veteran of the Watch is a soldier model, so he doesn't really have a name. You can have multiples of him, where Jon Snow is a hero because he caused Scold. He has that little crown icon, so he also comes with the motivation card.
Yeah. Okay, I see an interesting question here already, if you don't mind. Battle of the Wall will be exclusive. Will it be available for tournaments and organized play? Now, I think we covered a little bit about this last week. The game is very optimized. It would do very well in having organized play, but we can't guarantee there will be tournaments and organized play at this point. It's over a year before we launch it, etc. But still, the question stands. If there are tournaments and organized play, how will you deal with the Battle of the Wall, Beneath the Wall?
So right now our plan is, once again, this all may change. We never know. Like organized play, it's its own thing, right? That could take a whole live stream just talking about it. But the plan is, if a model is not available in retail, it is not allowed in tournaments. So the same thing happened in the other Song of Ice and Fire campaign, where you would get the mountain that rides on a horse, right? And he was not allowed in tournament gameplay until very much later, when he was released in Lannister Hero Box 3. So that's kind of the plan we want to stick to, just like we did in Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game, because we believe that that worked really well and that it was fair to the players.
Okay. But that's not all we're adding to the game today, is it? So let's get to the next image. Okay, what are we looking at here? Maybe Kuri can introduce us to this
Okay.
page, this piece of paper.
So this piece of paper is one of the 4-player scenarios that we have. Once again, as the game expands, we saw a lot of comments asking if there was more than 2-player game modes. And since we already had this made, we said, well, this is good to show. we like this. And it's very interesting. The idea is, once again, that all players are fighting against each other. So we want to see people during the game, forging alliances and things like that. Once again, this is still very work in progress. So if you do try to take a print screen, I don't know, things might change, obviously. And well, in this specific game mode, people are going to try to fight for the little island in the center of the map. This island is one of the tiles that you get in the Battle of the Trident, but some people may notice that some of these tiles have not yet been revealed, and they come in another box. So for you to play these larger games, sometimes you will need multiple boxes, but I guess that's just a cliffhanger for later.
Yes, it is. People are definitely screenshotting this now and trying to guess, I think. Hello, Glenn. Yes, you do.
I think that's the hardest part, right?
Friends not included.
Other friends to play.
You will have to provide your own friends. Okay, so that's today's reviews, right?
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about yesterday's reviews, as they were quite impressive, starting with this guy staring front and center of the box. Of course, he had to be the first review, right? So who's
Big
this? How
guy.
does it work? How do you balance something like that in the game? And can you tell us
So Mag is a very interesting character to balance, because if he's not only a huge, amazing creature, being, person that can fight really well and is considered even a monster by some people, right? But he is also a very unique character where he has his own motivations, right? He's the last king of the giants and he's trying to save his people. And so we decided to actually make him a hero in the game. So therefore, he will obviously cost gold. But once again, if he's only using your gold when you're building the rest of your list, you might have other resources to spend. So we believe that he should also soak up some of these resources, right? Because he is not only someone that can score you victory points because of his motivation, but also a very, very powerful creature. And it's very interesting seeing his strong points and weak points in the game. But I'll leave that for when people play at home.
Anything to add there, everyone?
One thing I like with Mag is that it soaks up only one gold. So it means in big games, you can have one giant and potentially one other big character aside in your warband, which is very, very interesting. It's not like the only leader you will have in a warband. So yeah, I kind of have a crush on him. That's why I'm with the wildlings.
Okay. And you still call them wildlings. Well, but that's not all we revealed yesterday. So what are we looking at here? Let's start with N1 this time, since I started with
So
last time.
we started to reveal the printed material from the box, and we started this with the tutorial scenario that we provide with it. So it's a very simple scenario where people discover basically the material that's in the box, because each box, of course, is a standalone. You can play all the adventures of the box with what's in the box. And this first scenario is a very simple one where you have 2 houses, and you will have to basically fight against each other. Very simple, only 2 tiles, a bit of tokens, pile of rocks, and that's it. It's really to introduce someone to the game, and it lasts like 30 minutes, and you get into it, and you chain up with the next one, but it's not released yet.
Yeah, I think something that Erwan said that is not necessarily linked to this slide, but is really relevant, and I'd like to reinforce is the Trident box is a standalone box, right? You get a series of scenarios to play, you get all the game components, and you get 2 armies to play with, 2 warbands. And the Battle Beneath the Wall is also a standalone box where you will get 2 warbands, all the scenarios, all the tiles and game components needed to play as well. And once again, then you can go as far as your creativity takes you and mix and match these boxes, right? Not only the tiles, creating your own scenarios and your own game modes, but also the warbands themselves and doing different matchups. But specifically here, I think he covered it all, right? We show players in this introduction how to move, how to engage each other in combat, also how to interact with the, let's say, the most recurring terrain, which are little obstacles and doors. And once people get that out of the way, they'll quickly want to go to their next game.
I see another question here that I think is interesting. Can we expect other great warrior heroes like the Mountain or Drogo to cost more than just gold then?
Yes, you can expect characters to cost a mix of different coins, gold, silver, and copper. It really will depend on their game balance and what we believe is their role from the story into the game.
Okay. Another interesting question. What percentage of tactics characters will be available in miniatures game? We will have only a few of them as Robert and Rhaegar, or most will have representation in the miniatures game? I think we covered this a bit last time, but maybe we can refresh everyone's memory.
Sure. I'd say most. What percentage is very hard. But this will be slowly trickled out through seasonal updates because there's a huge backlog. So we want to have a good plan of releasing things in a good, steady order where things come out balanced and fun to play, and that we have put a lot of thought and care into every single crossover miniature and unit. Once again, I think some examples are very obvious. I can say no from the bat. So any of the from the Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game, any of the large solo trays such as siege engines, the Dothraki Hrakars, the chariots, all of these things will not appear in Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. And maybe some characters and models from Song of Ice and Fire Tactics won't appear or will take very long time to appear in the tabletop miniatures game. So all of them are to be confirmed, but we hope to get, once again, most of them eventually.
Okay. I'm trying to keep up with the questions. Okay. Will ranges and movements in the game be measured in inches or easily convertible? I want to build proper game where tiles textured in 3D for this game. If you're into 3D terrain. We are we do have a tree for you, but let's answer the question first.
So the game is really centered around being able to recreate places of Westeros with the tile sets, right? So these were tailor made to make the game experience very fluid and quick and easy to engage. So right now we do not have any conversion tables to use freeform movement in inches or centimeters or the likes. The game was really planned out to be used with all these elements that come in the box.
Okay. So, but about the 3D terrain, that leads us to our final review of yesterday, the 3D terrain. So,
Yes.
Erwan, what are we looking at here? Can you introduce us?
So we got the small pile of rubble, which is at the first plane, so it's a bit bigger than the big pile of rubble that is in the background, but the background one is the big one. Then we have the hog on the fire, which is slowly cooking, ready to to be eaten by heroes. And we have a barrel of wine and a cart. So all these sceneries are part of Battle Beneath the Wall, and we choose to release them. You will see in a logical order, so probably they will be useful very soon. And yeah, what I can say something about the hog. It's probably one of the most powerful sceneries in the whole game, because basically it's a healer. So when you get to it, you can heal your life points. So it's a nice thing.
Yes.
Yeah. What I'd like to add quickly, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
is that obviously some of these terrains, like the pillars and the piles of rubble, they're interactable in the sense of that you have to move around them and they can block line of sight. But some of these terrains, once again, like the wagon, the large ale barrel, and the pig, they can be interacted in the game where you spend action points and things happen, right? So, like your one said, the pig can restore wounds, but I'll keep the other ones secret for now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, this is also things we'll be unlocking in the upcoming days, right? So we'll unlock these 2 boxes by the time we are done. Can you tell us more about the terrain pack, because there is more than one available and that might cause confusion?
Yeah, we released yesterday the one for Battle of the Trident that you can buy and add to your reward. But the one that we are giving in stretch goals is a separate one. So actually, you can already have 2 terrain packs. The one that is linked directly to Battle of the Trident, and the one you are unlocking into the daily stretch goal with Battle Beneath the Wall. And this will provide approximately the same number of terrain. So it's a nice big box of terrain you will have in the end.
Yeah, I think it's very important to reinforce that these 2 things that you see on this slide are the sum of all the daily stretch goals. So in the end of the campaign, these will be all the daily stretch goals. You will get the Battle Beneath the Wall box, and you would also get the Battle Beneath the Wall terrain pack. Yeah. So not only are they different, this one is crowdfunding exclusive or limited. I apologize.
Yeah, that's also something that maybe everyone can clarify.
Yeah, it's again a question that we had quite a lot. The difference between crowdfunding exclusive and limited. Exclusive, we are sure that this product is just for the campaign. So if you want it, it's the one time to get it. Limited, it's more a question of how things will go into retail. We are not sure that this product can hit retail in the conditions we want. So if you absolutely want it, the best time to get it is now, because you're sure to be able to get it. It will probably be available at some time in retail, but not as something that will be here forever. So it's safer to get it now, and that's the difference between the two tags.
A few more questions that I see here. Will all battle boxes feature 24 miniatures, or will it vary from box to box? I think that's a question for Erwan, maybe?
That's a good question, and we wanted to induce a structure with the skirmish set. So yes, the base of the skirmish set will be almost all the time 24 miniatures. That's what we are going with, but we are not close to maybe move it at some time if it's necessary, maybe because a faction will have some very powerful minis and the other faction not, so maybe one faction will have less minis, but for the moment, as you have been able to see, it's 12 on each side.
Yes, you can always expect that they will gravitate around 24 minis. Yeah. If they have one more or one less, it might be for gameplay reasons.
Yeah. Are you limited to content from the Song of Ice and Fire series of books, or can you pull content from books such as Fire and Blood, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, etc.? Ooh, people fishing for spoilers, I see. Okay, Cody, let's see what you have to say to
that. Our license covers the books, but we obviously, that means the whole range of books. But we have to pick and choose what we're going to release, and we have to keep things relatively consistent. So the basic rule is, if it's in the books, it can be in the game. Not necessarily it will be.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Since people are fishing for spoilers, I think maybe it's time we move on to the spoiler section of this live show. What do you say? Because of course, people who are used to our crowdfunding campaign will know today we'll reveal something new for you, something that will reach the campaign shortly before we're done here, and Erwan and Cody will tell you all about it. So ready for our big review of the day? Everyone ready? Shall we move? Go.
Let's go.
It's the Riverlands skirmish set filled with characters we know and love, like Tyrion. Okay, what can you tell us about this? A whole new skirmish set, I see. Let's start. Let's see. Erwan, what can you tell us about it?
So we are talking about skirmish sets being standalones. This is a new one, Riverlands, taking place in two different parts of the time that we depicted for now. So you guys probably know a bit about these events. I will let Fabio talk about the events because he's the real expert here. But yeah, it's a whole new skirmish set with two new factions, new tiles, new cards, everything standalone, so you can play these two factions one against each other and cross them over with the other boxes you will buy. So it's nice big box.
Yeah. I really love this box. I think this was actually one of my favorites. It represents the very famous King's Road Inn, or the Crossroad Inn in the Riverlands, right? That's why it's the Riverlands box. So we made it where you can use the tiles of that inn to create villages and create other things that to represent the entirety of the Riverlands. I think that's very, very interesting. And this inn has seen and suffered so much throughout the story, right? And there's so many coincidences that happened in this place that to me it's one of the most iconic places in Westeros. And so here the roster of characters that we tried to represent are the people who were there and met each other and the conflicts that occurred here. So I think a very, very famous and iconic moment is when Catelyn Stark arrests Tyrion at this very inn. But also many other characters do go by there, like such as Arya and the Hound. So we decided to include these characters in the box once again, because what we're thinking is to let players be creative, create their own situations, create their own what ifs. And that's really, once again, I think this box really shines in this because everyone knows this location really well. Everyone knows these characters really well. And they can do a lot of what if situations with this box.
Yes. A question here. This is coming after the current campaign contents are released. No, this is an add-on for the campaign that's live right now, right, everyone?
Yeah. This is an add-on, like just like a classic add-on. You need to just add it to your pledge in a classic way, to your reward. So yeah, you will be able to find it on the page just soon.
Yeah. So let's see the we can already see on the cover the very iconic scene that you mentioned of Catelyn arresting Tyrion. But let's meet the characters inside. Okay, so who are we looking at here?
So here we have the Stark family. So in this box, from the Stark side, we have two heroes, which are Catelyn Stark and Arya Stark. They are the characters that come with motivations. And Robb Stark is merely a champion. So he's a very prominent warrior and a leader. But when our idea was he is not a hero because when push comes to shove, he doesn't really have his own motivations. He's just following the script in a sense. You know, he's just taking on this role and just doing what his counselors tell him and kind of trying to fill his father's shoes. I also think that Catelyn is a very good example of a hero which is a non-combatant, right? Usually, we have just showcased people with weapons and armor, and Catelyn, she has none of this. So how does she work in the game? Well, she will have many abilities and actions that are unique to her that can improve the units around her, that can give people extra actions through her wise words and through her commanding aura, right? And through the way she acts, right? Because she is a leader. And also what makes her very unique is her motivations, right? Because once again, when we were designing the core rules of the game, we really had to think of why would Catelyn be there, right? And we see her in many moments where there is bloodshed, where there is conflict. So we know that these things happen, but what brings her there? So that's really, Catelyn really highlights the motivation cards, right? So her motivation is very unique. And I'll once again, I'll keep it to myself for now. Let's keep going.
Okay, I see a question here before we move on. Are these add-ons playable without the other game pieces? Is everything in the box to play? Everyone?
Yeah, it's the big distinction to make. When we tell add-on, it's in terms of adding it to your actual reward, but each skirmish set is standalone. Each skirmish set is a standalone. You take the skirmish set, you open it, you can play with it directly. You don't need any of the other skirmish sets. But if you want, you can cross them over. That's the particularity of what we wanted to do with these skirmish sets. We don't want to have just one box that everybody has to buy. You can pick and choose the skirmish set you want because they are all compatible but all standalone.
Yes. So once this get to retail, any skirmish set you pick off the shelf is it standalone. You can take it as a starter set per se.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. In the campaign, you have to get Battle of the Trident, because we have in the campaign system to have a flagship box to sell. So here it's the case. You need Battle of the Trident first, but yeah, in retail, you can pick a box and open it and play.
Okay, so let's move to the rest of the cast, shall we? So who are we looking at here?
So here we have the people who were with Catelyn, right? Obviously, Great John Umber was not there at that moment, but once again, we're representing all the conflicts that happened at the Riverland, and Great John was there with Robb Stark. Going back, also, I think some people might look at Bronn being here as not as a neutral character, not as a mercenary, but as a Stark character. But once again, this represents the moment where Bronn appears for the first time, actually, and he's swearing allegiance to Catelyn at that moment to take Tyrion to the Vale and arrest as an arrest, right? So we decided to put Bronn here as one of the Starks, because we really do believe that he fits here really well in what we wanted, once again, in bringing the story to life in the game.
Yeah, we've had some instances of similar things in the Battle of the Trident box, right? With Ned Stark being a Baratheon and things like that. Yeah. Okay, and finally, our regular Stark troops. Hello there. Okay, so these, what are these? Can you introduce us? These units, I mean, what are their names?
Okay, so we have here on the left a Tully Sworn Shield. Once again, this is already a very well known. This unit has existed since the origins of A Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game. It was in the other Kickstarter 6 years ago, and here we have him introduced into Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, being one of the units that you can take, and once again also helping to showcase this cross compatibility. And actually you can see this across all these units, because these are some Stark Sworn Swords, once again in alternate sculpts with the texturized bases, really consistent with the Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, but they are cross compatible. You can use them in both games, and if you have Stark Sworn Swords from the Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game, you can bring it into Tactics. And a Stark Bowman as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we did, if I'm not mistaken, publish an update covering basically everything, I guess, about cross-compatibility between both lines. Is there right or one?
Yeah, we did. And this is a nice example of some units that you will be able to remove to your tray and add new ones from Tactics, or the reverse. You can pick your units from TMG and play them in Tactics, and you have already maybe painted reinforcements for your band right now. So it's a nice thing.
Yeah, true. Okay, so that covers the Starks. Shall we move to the Lannisters?
Yes.
Okay, so who are we looking at here? I think all of these characters are extremely well known, but still, Cody, can you introduce us?
Okay, so what I really like here are these alternate sculpts where they are wearing their more gala armors, right? Let's call it. So the lion helmet on Jaime, I think, looks fantastic, and I love the wolf helmet on Sandor. I think what is interesting here is to highlight the heroes. So this box actually comes with 3 heroes for the Lannister side. Jaime, Tyrion, and Sandor all have their own motivations. And see, also, I think this is a good example to showcase what makes a hero and what doesn't, and why Sandor is a hero and not a champion, as opposed to Gregor. This doesn't mean that Sandor is a commander of many people, right? We're looking at, once again, we're talking about motivations. So we're talking about characters that have a lot of rapport, and they have their own emotional and story-driven pull, right? And Sandor really has that. He has very strong character arc in the books, and that's what makes him a hero and not a champion. as opposed to his brother, which is a very big and important commander of armies and troops, but he's not necessarily a character that has a lot of depth.
Interesting. Yeah, these look fantastic. It's very impressive how just how taller Gregor is, like, and he's right next to Tyrion.
Yeah.
It's very impressive, honestly. Erwan, how was it designing this character? I see a question here that maybe can cue us in. Why do we see notable differences regarding character design? So Kuri just said their gala outfit. Was that the word? I'm not sure. Anyway, but yeah, like Jaime wearing a whole golden armor with a lion head. Like, it's very impressive.
It was a very interesting process because we really treated each character as a unique piece. Not in the sense where you want a uniformed army, but this game is really character driven. Characters are the star of this game, so we really wanted each character to have his own style and really his own equipment. So we took some fantasy things, but we also did research into more true medieval armor and weapons that you won't see much usually, and this gives some really interesting mixes of matters and different types of armor and armor parts that we are showing now. For example, the Jaime Lannister armor is a full plate armor, while the Sandor Clegane one is a more flexible one. You see he have leather on the torso and the legs and steel on the other parts. So we really wanted to create these differences between all the characters, so they really popped out well on the table too. So you don't just have a bunch of knights and you can't differentiate them, you know. So yeah, poses and gear are very important in the design. Yeah.
They look amazing. Congrats on the sculptor. Incredible work. The rest of the cast. Kuri, can you introduce us to this guy as our lore specialist?
So Adam Marbrand, I guess the more avid readers will know, it's Jaime Lannister's childhood friend. He also fought in many of the battles with the Lannisters during many situations and conflicts that happened. What else can I specifically talk about Adam? He's well known. He's a little bit important still in the story. But here we have Jick and Morik, which are two named characters and champions in this game, which are Tyrion's valets. I think that's the word, right? They accompany Tyrion at the King's Road Inn when he gets arrested, and that deserved them a spot here in this box. I think they bring some unique gameplay, and they're also, once again, very interesting, and characters that you wouldn't normally be able to put in games because you always have to focus on the main people, right, to fit in the box. And the good thing about A Song of Ice and Fire and having all these skirmish sets is that we can expand the world and the lore and start getting these B-list characters in the game. We already do this a lot in the tabletop miniatures game, and it's something that we enjoy and will continue doing here.
Okay. And finally, unless everyone has something to add here?
No. I think Curie got it perfect. So yeah, no.
Okay.
I love Morik. He's very fancy with his hat.
That is true. Yeah, they all look very Jick. I love what's the name of this thing? Like this thing around his neck. It looks great.
You can just say chainmail when in doubt.
Yeah, it's basically a chainmail. Yeah.
Love it. Well, I'm giving like fashion advice to medieval people. Like, yes, this thing, great, amazing, you go. But finally, let's move on to the troops. So, who are we looking at?
Let's see if people can guess. But Just joking. The two at the top are Lannister guardsmen. They are also very known, just standard troops for the Lannisters. At the bottom here, we have some of the Mountains Men. So these are troops that work specifically for Gregor Clegane, right? He's a very powerful champion in our game. And sometimes he has very strong headaches and he throws a fit. And these guys, they know their boss, so they can work around this, and they're good to fight alongside Gregor. Not that they don't work by themselves; they fight pretty decently by themselves, but alongside Gregor, they can become more useful. And we also have a Lannister crossbowman here, which I really love this pose, and I love the sneer, like the face of disgust he's making. I love it.
Yeah, and these are, if I'm not mistaken, also crossover units.
Yes.
Very nice. Let's see. I see so many questions. Oh my god. For people asking about Battle Beneath the Wall and tournaments, we covered it at the beginning. So you can check that out later on. I have a very specific question here, actually. In the rules, it says that we will be able to hire one neutral character of each type, hero, champion, and soldiers for a warband. Will there be smaller boxes featuring neutral characters? Oh, someone's paying attention to the rulebook.
I like it that you're reading the rulebook. Slevenlicious, good job. I love it when people read the rulebook. So it's in the page. It's in the GameFound page. So whoever hasn't taken a look, please do. And well, I guess what he's asking is for spoilers on this matter of product. So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to leave it hanging. And I apologize. Just wait and see. Follow us for more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the first day and we're already covering this much. Yeah. There is a lot to come. I think that covers the characters in the box, right? Like the cast. So here we have a few of their cards, and here we can see some of the things you said earlier, like Arya being a hero, Robb being a champion, and the Stark Sworn Sword being a troop. Is that the right name? Soldier. Is that the right name? Do you think you can tell us a little bit more about one of these? I don't think we'll have time to cover all of them, but maybe you can pick one. What do you think?
I'll talk about Arya Stark because she's the least combatant of all of these, right? Whereas the other characters are a little more straightforward. Arya, she also comes with the motivation, her being a hero character, right? So she's trying to fill her motivation, which are names on her list. And at the start of the game, she will declare nemesis. And these are people she wants dead, right? That's Arya. This is Song of Ice and Fire for you. And whenever one of these characters dies, you can actually spend the gold to score VP, and Arya will be obliged to go, she appears in that spot where the character died, and just to look at his body and strike his name off her list. So that's very interesting because Arya is very nimble with the way she moves, having the never do what they expect ability and the going unseen ability. It's very hard to catch her, but she does have only one wound. So once you do attack her and you do strike her, it's very easy if you pass her defenses and all her mechanisms to not get caught. She only has one wound that makes her very fragile in a sense. So once you do complete her objective, you kind of have to use her resources to quickly run away, because when someone dies and she appears there, she's in the heat of battle, right? So that's Arya for you. That's her game design in a nutshell.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so we also have here a look to the tiles and terrains that come in the set. So these are the Riverlands, right? So what kind of setting are we covering in this box? Let's go. Let's see. Or what? Maybe?
Yep.
You can take that one.
So basically, you can see that the amount of material is the same as the one you have in the other skirmish sets. You have 6 tiles that are double-faced and many tokens for the sceneries. One thing that is very interesting right now is that these tiles are the same color of tiles as Battle of the Trident. And a bit earlier, we were talking to you about a scenario with 9 tiles. These are the tiles you were missing for these 9. So it hits, it shows that we wanted to have the environments compatible together. So it's also the same shade of green that the tiles you have in the dragon, in Dragon's Fury. So if you have the 6 tile plus the 6 of Trident plus the 6 of the dragon, you can technically make an 18 tiles board, which is huge. But you will have a bit of time to learn the game before doing such huge battles. But technically, you can now.
Yeah, I'd like to add that being the Trident, the region of the Trident being in the Riverlands, of course, that the grass type would match, right? Once again, we will be releasing additional content throughout the years where we will propose specific situations and specific what-if moments of the books where you would mix and match tiles from different skirmish sets. So the more you expand your collection, or like we read in the comment previously, the more friends you have, the larger the world becomes, the more you can rebuild Westeros. And obviously, if you want to get these very lush green tiles and put them next to the wall, the transition can be done if you're clever with the rivers and the buildings. So even that you can still do where the tile sets do match, and all of this was thought out previously.
Okay. I see an interesting question here. Do models have a movement stat, or does everyone share the same movement? Do cavalry have unique movement rules? I think we can go back to the last image. Maybe that can help. I think that's a question for Kuri, right?
Yeah, this is very technical. Models all move 3 squares unless stated otherwise. If you look at Robb Stark, his second ability has a little boot, a little shoe icon. That means that's an ability, for example, that he can use while moving. And you will see many models that have abilities like that. There are different rules for movement when regarding large models, such as giants, cavalry, ... And they also sometimes have special rules attached to their card on top of the movement rules for large models. So what we noticed was that 3 was a good number. We also think that this is tactical movement, so they're not really moving large distances, so everyone can kind of sprint the same amount. And where we do find it necessary to increase or reduce someone's movement, we'll do it through an ability, because we noticed that 99.9% of units had 3 movement balance-wise. So it was just better to have that as a flat-out rule.
Okay. And that brings us, I think, to the last topic we will be covering today. So, to cuisine, is this exclusive for crowdfunding? Erwan,
No,
can you?
This one is not. This one is just a regular expansion you can buy now, and you will be able to buy it later in retail.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, we do have a final thing to cover, which is terrain. So 3D terrain. Once again, here we are, and these look so nice with the tree and the table set that you can put in the inn. I just think it looks so great. So, can you introduce us, Erwan?
Yeah, so we can see a variety of terrain that you will find on the tokens of Riverlands. So the important point is that this set is put into sale at the same moment as Riverlands, and For that, we are also offering a bundle for that. You will see that if you get the terrain and Riverlands together, you will have a discount. Now, regarding the terrain, I'm just in love with the table and the counter. These are so RPG feeling with all the small items on the table and stuff. It's really good, and I just can't imagine how it will look on the table painted. Like you're salivating just playing the game, you know.
Yes.
Into a more technical point of view, you can see the bridge at the middle of the page. You will see more in the update, but it's actually a modular bridge. For both solidity reasons and production reasons, we found out that making modular terrain would be more efficient. So you guys will see that it will be a system where you can assemble two small pontoons together and clip the walls on the side, and it makes a bridge. So you paint things that you can use multiple different ways, which is very interesting also. And then you have a nice well. You will find again a barrel, a tree, and a small wall.
Also, I think something very interesting that Erwan showed me when they were creating all these terrains is that because gameplay-wise, when you the table, you may flip it, like you can just rage and flip the table. And so they made it where all the little cups and all the little jars, they're actually the same height, and they're distributed in a way that when you do flip the table, it doesn't wobble, and you can actually keep on playing. It is functional. All of these things were really well thought out, and I'm super happy when they showed me this. I got super stoked.
Yeah.
I never thought that something that was
I
a thing
play
that people would
miniatures.
plan for.
Yeah. When you play miniatures, you don't like when your miniatures are wobbly on terrains. So you anticipate that.
Oh my god. It's the little things. Yes, it is. Hi, Chase. I see. We are now probably almost at the end here, but I'll try to get a few more questions. Are we allowed more than one hero per game? Can we use one gold heroes like John Aaron if a small game requires us to use a minimum of 2 gold? That sounds very specific.
No, but I understand the question. Okay. I think if you don't mind, I want to clarify this.
Of course, sure.
Okay, so each scenario has the amount of gold that you can use. You can always fall short of that gold. You don't have to use all of it. When I mean gold, coins, gold, silver, and copper. You don't need to spend exactly everything. So if you do spend less, that's okay. It might be riskier for you because that means your opponent has more resources. But you're allowed more than one hero per game. For example, if you're playing a very large match with 3 gold, you could have either one hero that costs 3 gold or even 3 heroes that cost 1 gold each. As long as you don't overspend, you're safe. And the interesting thing is having many heroes that cost 1 gold, like John Aaron, for example, it means that you'll have lots of options, and not necessarily during the game you can fulfill all their motivations, but what they're doing is they're increasing your range of scoring, right? So the more heroes you have, the more fallback plans you have, and that's really comes back into list building and creating these things in a smart way. So good question.
Yeah. Okay. I think we covered everything we had today, if I'm not mistaken. Any final messages we need to give before we wrap this up?
Enjoy the rest of the campaign. Enjoy the next week, and we see each other next Friday.
Actually, there is one thing. Sorry, I just remembered. But the Riverlands box, which we just introduced, the Dice Tower, we'll be playing a gameplay with it. If I'm not mistaken, immediately after we're done, so in like 5 minutes, you can head over to the Dice Tower and see it in action. If not in 5 minutes, maybe I'm confusing the time zones. It's not entirely impossible, but it's at some point today. So keep an eye out for that. We're very excited about it. I'm very excited about it, at least. Have you? I don't think. Yeah, our other gameplay video by Alex from the Board Game Co. It covered the Battle of the Trident. So this is the first one for the Riverlands.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. I think with that, we covered everything, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So let's move on to our goodbyes. Do you have any final words, Cody?
No, I just want to thank everyone. The campaign so far is being awesome. I really enjoy listening to reading everyone's feedback in the comments. We always have an eye out for what's going on. And just thank you, everyone. And I'll see you guys next Friday.
That starts in 2 minutes. So, Erwan, final words from you?
Yeah, same. Thank you, guys. It's very thrilling to see everybody so much enjoying the campaign and asking questions and being that interested in the game. It's really cool, and I love that. So keep going.
So I guess I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.